Next, Tom, I think, is going to present on behalf of this team. Tom McCullough.
Right. Good morning.
Hi. Yeah. Good morning.
I'm Tom McCullough, founder and CEO of Instant Mobile Solutions. What we have developed is the ability to digitize the donation process from the time a donor boxes up their household items to the time those items are sold online. So our target audience are basically in-kind donations, charities that accept in-kind donations. And we've started with Goodwill. Today, if you live in the Silicon Valley, you can download the app from the App Store. We've had over, I think, 2,000 downloads of the app and over 1,300 or 1,400 registered users of it at this point. But the problem that we're solving is twofold. One, whenever you've made a donation at a charity, have they ever asked you for your contact information? The problem that Goodwill has is they've got 74 million donors that they estimate, but they don't have a database of them. They have no way to reach out to and contact their donors, and this is true for any charity that accepts any type of in-kind donation, of which there are approximately 90,000 charities in the U.S. alone that are faced with this problem. And these are anything from homeless shelters to food banks to the SPCA, on and on and on. On the flip side, when we talk about digitizing the donation process, instead of getting a paper receipt, you create a digital file, donation file, that is confirmed when you reach the point of donation by the folks, in this case at Goodwill Silicon Valley. And that file then is locked, meets the IRS requirements for for certification or confirming the donation, and you're then able to download that to your tax file, to your tax returns, like Tax Act or H&R Block or Intuit, when you are preparing your taxes. Next slide, please. So where are we today? Right now we support in-kind donations, so we solve the problem, as I just described, for the donor on the upper left, and we provide for Goodwill Silicon Valley donor contact information and a communications platform. Where we're going with this is then the ability to build out the messaging, basically that ability to provide a consistent message across all sorts of different locations. If you go to any Goodwill in the United States, of which there are 165, you'll see that they have a presence on all of those websites listed in the lower left. And the content on it gets stale very quickly. It's outdated, the numbers are old, and so they've got a real messaging problem in terms of who they are, what their accomplishments are, who they serve, that sort of thing. On the other side, they have all sorts of different ways in which they can sell their higher value items, but it's all one-off. There's no easy single user interface that allows them to go in and sell an item at across a wide distribution of sales channels.
Tom, who is the customer here?
We get paid by both the charity. In other words, there's a subscription for the service, and then there are premium services and transaction revenue that we generate through some of these other capabilities. So the donor does not pay for anything.
So today, are you generating revenue out of your Goodwill application?
Yes, out of the subscription revenue from Goodwill Silicon Valley.
And what is the denomination of that?
How much are we generating?
Yeah.
The revenue is $500 a month from Goodwill Silicon Valley, and on May 7th, I'm signing a deal with Goodwill International that will basically give us nationwide distribution, and then the ability to, with Goodwill International support, sell directly to all 165 of the Goodwill agencies.
And the assumption here is that each of these 165 are going to be paying $500 a month.
It's a sliding scale, but on average, yes.
And do you have to sell each of them separately, or does the umbrella Goodwill Industries International deal automatically do the full deal, or how does that work?
It'll be a combination of both. With Goodwill International's backing and support, we will get much greater penetration. But it is a direct sale. The good news is we don't have to do it in person. We can do it all on the phone.
Yeah. Okay. And this application that you are currently, this Goodwill application, the iPhone app or whatever you have up there, is that the same app that all of them are going to be using?
Yes. So what we're able to do is, for example, the deal with Goodwill International is basically you'll be able to open it up and we'll have 2,700 locations for donation sites, stores, all that sort of thing across the United States. And so it'll show the 165 Goodwills, and then you can drill down and you can find a store that's local to you, a donation site that's local to you, whatever it is that you want to know about any Goodwill in your area or in another area. So that's the location piece of it. What that will give us then is the ability to work directly with each one of the Goodwills on the premium side of the subscription, or premium side of the service, which is the donation piece, where they're actually able to confirm the donation for the donors and provide other capabilities.
And what is the pricing or business model or pricing model on that one?
So approximately, again, it's a sliding scale, but it's based on the size of each one of the individual 165 agencies. For example, the Goodwill agency in Portland does $100 million in annual revenue. The one in Silicon Valley does about $25 million. So you can see where we've got some latitude to increase that $500 up to, as much as $1,500 a month.
And were you turning this into an e-commerce site? Is that what you're trying to do with that the Goodwill sales process then becomes an e-commerce process? Is that the proposition?
So that's part of it. So we have the subscription revenue from Goodwill. We have premium services that we offer to the donors, and we have the ability for Goodwill then to use our platform to distribute their goods online to any of the 10 or 15 locations where they would be selling online. And when they do that, there's a transaction piece. Also, with the deals that we've cut with, for example, Mercury and ABC Payments, we get a piece of each of the transaction or each of the credit card fees. Okay.
So let's do a very quick back of the envelope. 165 agencies, let's say, what, $1,000 a month kind of average revenue per agent per site? Is that reasonable?
I use $500 just to keep the numbers a little bit smaller, but yeah, I mean, basically we can generate anywhere from 100 to 200,000 a month in revenue just from the subscription piece of Goodwill. But remember, this isn't all about Goodwill. This is about the 90,000 charities that are out there, and this is where there's real scale in what we're doing. The subscription revenue just gives us a basic cash flow, but I think the transaction piece and the premium services are areas where we can get real upside in terms of revenue.
Yeah, well, yes, potentially. So what I'm trying to get at, I'll just tell you what I'm trying to get at, and you can do this as a homework. I think one of your questions is what do you need to see if this is fundable, or what more do you need to raise funds? Well, one thing that I need to assess is what is the TAM on this one? How do you present the total available market? And we need a bottom-up total available market sizing here. So for any investor to gauge whether this is something that they want to invest in or not is to assess what is the TAM.
Sure. Well, you can look at it from either the number of, just take the number of folks that make donations in a given year, or you can take a look at it from the subscription and transaction revenue. And I've got all of those models built in my spreadsheets. I didn't include those numbers in the presentation for obvious reasons.
And so what does it come to? What does your total available market come to based on those models? I haven't looked at the models, so I can't say whether the models are sound or not, but based on, let's assume that the models are sound, what are you getting as TAM?
Well, okay, so when you take a look at the on the subscription side, you've got 90,000 charities.
No, I want to know what is the, in terms of millions of dollars, what is the total available market based on your assumptions?
Oh, I would have to. I haven't put those numbers together in that fashion.
Yeah.
But I can.
Without the bottom-up TAM analysis, you cannot raise capital.
Okay. I mean, that's easy for me to do. No one's asked me for that before.
Very standard thing in raising capital. You have to present a market sizing. I would say the number one determinant in raising capital is total available market.
Well, I understand that. So the number of charities is 90,000. I
can't spend more time with you to flesh out your entire TAM model right now. I have to move to the next presenter. We have 3 more to cover. But that's your homework, basically. Go figure out the TAM.
I already have it. I'll send it to you. Thank you.
Okay. WedWoo. Darren, your turn. Darren? Where is Darren?
Can you hear me? I'm here. I'm here.
All right.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay. So basically, we started a company called WedWoo. It's essentially Priceline for brides. It takes the concept. You can go to the next slide, by the way. You're tired of looking at me. So I'm in Miami, and then we started WedWoo.com. So the next slide. All right. So in simplest terms, we are a Priceline, but for brides. We're basically using the name your own price format, focusing on the brides, allowing them to place a reasonable offer for services. Then we match them up with vendors in the database that have already been pre-qualified based on the skills and the capabilities, willing to basically do it for the price that a bride offers, minus a 15 to 20% transaction fee that we're going to charge. And then our system then back in would track all the transactions and the process from beginning to end of the wedding. So they would have a chance to see confirmations of their vendor, be able to track where they are, get confirmations that they're going to show up, all the kind of things that they would do normally. So okay, go to the next one. Okay, so essentially what we're doing is we're taking the traditional pricing models and we're challenging that, because essentially it's a fixed price. Brides call up, they say, hey, I want to do a such and such. A vendor says, okay, well, I want to charge you $600 for 4 hours, and it's pretty much set. So we're taking that fixed model of pricing and we're making an elastic model, allowing them to name their own price. Essentially, since the industry inflates wedding costs because of the perception that's their special day, there's a large gap in terms of what the actual cost for the service is and what the actual charges that are being made. So essentially, we're telling the vendor, listen, you can't cover and book all your times throughout the year. So we're going to essentially buy your unbooked time, and you'll do jobs that you would not normally book yourself on, or you didn't have the opportunity to fill, and you'll do it at a price that's a little bit more flexible based on the offers we receive. And then we kind of make it, create that kind of consolidated methodology in the pricing thing. As a validation, our first year, I rolled it out, and we didn't do any marketing or advertising. It was pretty much word of mouth or direct referral. We had over 110 offers, 72 actually booked us, paid, did everything, so we had a high conversion rate. You can see the averages for the services. Typically, vendors for that amount would charge between $850 to $1,000. And we got kind of an average cost around $200, so we were around $50 or $45 to $50 an hour on vendors we're willing to accept at that rate. And since I started, I've been booking jobs every month. And then the next month.
So if you're booking jobs every month across these numbers of customers, what kind of revenue level are you at right now?
The first year we basically did around $38,000.
Okay.
The vendor costs that we've had that we'd had to pay out was right around about 14,000, and then we kept the difference. Now, when we go into the larger market, we had a slight change in our pricing model. Right now, I basically say, hey, will you work for, $40 an hour, $50 an hour? I say yes, but we have a different idea later. Another part of the market we found that we think is an untapped part of it, that 32% of the overall market is second weddings. Second weddings still want the professional services, but they don't want to pay the exorbitant amount. They don't feel like, hey, I need to spend $5,000 for a photographer to feel comfortable. I just want the professional service. I want them to show up. I want to make sure they know what they're doing, they have the right equipment, and just give me a good service for a price that's pretty reasonable. There's about 2.1 million brides in the market, and essentially there is no national model that can approach the bride segment as a whole. There's virtually no scalable model in the bride industry. Everything's got to be local. We're the first, I believe, that is able to actually scale this and do this on a large basis with technology.
Okay.
All right, next, I think. Essentially, the way you're looking at the market, I don't see any A-type competitors at this point because literally we're the first name-your-own-price formula focused on the bride. Most models, if they attempt this, usually what they do is it's a lead generator. So a bride would come up and they'd say, here's my information. They'd charge vendors to say, hey, here's a lead. For $15, you can make a proposal to her. Very, very low conversion rate. In our case, everybody that books, they pay us. And so every time we give a job to a vendor, it's done and paid for. So as far as I know, we do have first true mover advantage in this particular industry. The other ones that would basically be competitors would be offshoots like Craigslist when they're trying to shop for price. They still want the service. Maybe, Uncle Ned went and bought a camera or something and did the service for them. So essentially, if they didn't really have us, they would either find second-rate alternatives or they just wouldn't do the service.
What are the services that you're seeing demand for?
Well, essentially this is done specifically with service-generated industries, not products. So this would not extend to flowers and invitation stuff. There will only be services. So we first offered photography. We got a lot of movement on that. And we added videography. We got movement on that. And then we added DJ. So essentially we're right around an equal mix of photo, video. A lot of times somebody does photo. They usually book us for video. DJ is a little less, but we added that later. So we've kept it focused on the photo, DJ, video simply because that's about 65% of most of the wedding charges absent the catering charge or the facility hall. So. And
those are not going to be part of your offering, the catering services and all that?
No, because that's a really more complicated product, and because it's not an elastic pricing. I mean, you've got fixed costs of food and labor and all that stuff, so you can't really have an elastic pricing model saying, hey, offer a price. You have to have a floor. In this particular case, as long as it's not unreasonable, there will be vendors that will do it for less than other vendors but still perform the same service because there's no fixed cost to the product.
Okay. So essentially this is becoming a photo video. Sounds like it's photo video primarily. There's maybe DJ.
Well, no, our focus is not photo video DJ. That's an assumption because we have enough vendors throughout the country willing to fill the jobs. What we are is a name your price format using technology to allow brides to book and plan their wedding. I'm not a photo video and DJ.
Yes, but the question I'm asking you, and it's a question that you should ask yourself, is what are the other services that fit into your model that can be procured through your model?
Well, we've already had a few extensions that we just haven't really spent the time to go after, and that's like ceremonies, like the officiants, limos are a big one that we get asked for, things that are more service-oriented. But yes, I think it extends out a little bit, but like I said, primarily photo, DJ, video, have virtually an unlimited amount of suppliers, and two, it's an elastic pricing model. So.
Okay.
My questions to you would be scalability. Since we could go national, should we not? Should we focus on milestones in a smaller area? Feedback on our concept as a whole, and then basically I need to figure out a way to create the financial validation so we can get further funding because we do have to build out our developer base, marketing, and so I have a great idea. I'm not a financial guy, and I seem to be stymied when it comes to actually approaching the VC market. I do have confirmed revenue. I do have a proof of concept. It seems like people are willing to bid for their services and use this formula outside of the traditional way. And as far as I know, there's nothing like it yet on the market.
So I guess I'm going to ask you the same question as I asked Tom earlier, is the issue of total available market. You're going to have to create a model with which you can gauge the total available market, because there are some issues here. If the service is going to be largely dependent on photo and video services, you're going to also run into friends and family who do those things, right? We often have in events, photography, there's somebody in the friends circle or family circle who does photography, who is a good photographer, and they do the photography, that kind of, especially where you're running into the cost-conscious consumer. That is your competitor for sure. So
well,
what? Pardon?
Go ahead. No, I'm going to listen now. I'm sorry.
What percentage of the market is really going to be using your service? That's a question to ask, and you need to make some assumptions to see to what extent, what is the real scale here, and this is where you're going to also have to answer the question I asked you earlier, which is what other services are relevant here, what other services can be sold in this mode that a bride is looking for. Is it hair and makeup, or is that always at the salons? Can you bring the salons into the process? I mean, so go talk to your client base, go talk to the brides and wedding planners and so forth, and see what other services can be procured in this mode, and that will give you some idea about total available market. So that's an analysis that is vital to any decision on financing. I cannot give you any input on whether your project is fundable or not without a thorough total available market sizing model. That's pretty much number one, and then if that will determine whether this is a fundable business or it's a business that needs to be built organically. And as far as we are concerned, even if your business is not venture fundable, if it's a modest size TAM, total available market, the business is not fundable. Then you have to build the business organically, and the funding structure needs to be either customer-generated fund money or friends, family financing. Institutional angel investors or VCs do not fund small TAM opportunities.
Well, just to, I don't know if you want me to address that point, but essentially when I started this, I booked jobs in 7 different states, Virginia, Oklahoma, Chicago, Washington.
I don't think it's an issue of states. I think it's an issue of TAM model. You're going to need to set up a TAM model, and there are specific, best practices on how to do a TAM model.
Yeah. Okay.
That's something you're going to need to learn.
All right.